Hoka hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita live stream of July the 7th, 2023. What is Alita made of? Where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, Creek Indian from Denver, Colorado. And with me, I have Lee, and he is from Fountain, Colorado. How's it going, Lee?
Going pretty good.
Cool. Okay, we don't look like we got a very big audience out there for right now, but that's all right. I guess we can go ahead and start going. If anybody would like to come on, you want to, join in the discussion. So, you can just basically click on the chat right there, on that link that's in the chat, and join us. If all you want to say is, I love Alita, then that's fine. If you want to come on and stay on, you can do that too. So we will let you do that with no problem. So how are things down there in Fountain, Lee? Did you have a great Independence Day?
I actually had a pretty quiet one, honestly. Didn't do a whole lot. Listened to some of the neighbors set off, fireworks and all that, and actually just kind of turned in early. But it's rather nice right now, if cloudy.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of cloudy up here. I mean, it was the low ceiling on the clouds. So, I mean, it was not. I mean, it was kind of disappointing in a way because you couldn't, see, those really high fireworks that they shoot off, that go way up, that have high altitude on them and really, really explode, and you can see for a long way, but we could see a fairly good way. We could see out toward the airport and stuff like that. So, which is about, I guess probably 50 miles, maybe 30 miles from the house here as the crow flies, So, so we had a pretty good 4th of July up here. I actually went to my nephew's office. He's in an office building up. His office is up like 6 floors up, so we got a pretty good vantage point, but like say the weather was kind of made it disappointing anyway. So all right, so anyway, enough of that, I guess. We just want to remind everybody that everybody certainly on this stream has probably already signed on this, signed the petition itself, but as you can see there, we're closing in on 178,000. And Angelus, it looks like, yeah, there he is. Hoka hey, Alita Army, or good day, mate. Yeah, Angelus, looks like you're the only one out there. So, it's cool, yeah, we're just 41 signatures off of 178,000. So we're getting there, as they would say. I mean, there while we did the airplane banner, I mean, we picked up like 200 signatures in 2 weeks, I think, something like that. Now it's fallen back off a little bit because I believe we picked up 7 since last week, which is a little low for us. But I think maybe, hopefully, some people saw a tweet that I put out last week, and I pinned it to my Twitter page, but my profile, that is. And there was one discussion about somebody had said that you guys, the Alita Army's only got 200 people in it. And Angela says he's getting an echo. Were you hearing an echo out of me there, Lee? Or because I got my headphones on, so.
No, you sound pretty good to me.
Yeah, Angelus, I bet you, I don't know, Angelus, might be on your end, man. But anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, there was somebody, I guess it was a former Alita Army member who was kind of disappointed that they didn't get a sequel, as soon as they wanted. They said, well, the Alita Army's only got like 200 people in it, and it's, you guys are never going to get never going to get a sequel and all that kind of stuff because the Alita Army just doesn't have that many people in it. And so I put out a tweet, says, anybody says that to you, just refer them to the sequel petition, and there it is. So, yeah, now, not all these folks certainly sign this are hardcore Alita Army members like we are, but, hey, if you want a sequel, then you in the Alita army, you know. So there you have it. So there, I mean, there you have 178,000 nearly signatures. So that's pretty large number of people that want a sequel.
Yep,
But
certainly more than a
it's
mere 200 like they were claiming.
yeah, exactly. So anyway, hopefully, of course, I don't have that many followers. I think I got like 770 odd or something like that on Twitter. So,
Hmm.
but still, hopefully people retweet that, and maybe that'll, maybe Disney will see this thing and they kind of give us what we want anyway. And I would also like to remind folks about our Hero Arm campaign. We actually did, put this together to kind of meet two objectives, and certainly the pretty important one there was the Hero Arm campaign. We want to give some deserving individual, a bionic hand again, like kind of like we did a couple of years ago, or maybe it was last year. I can't remember, but we kind of want to give them someone who's physically challenged, if you get them a bionic hand, and it really means a lot to them. I know the last one we did was that kind of a little boy, and I think he's here in the States, but I'm not real sure. But Blondie would know more about that. But he said he loved that arm so much he was never going to take it off. So I bet his mother, though, probably says, "Oh yeah, you will. You're gonna have to take a shower and stuff like that." So, but it was kind of neat, to see it mean so much to that kid, But we also raised some money to fly that airplane around Disney headquarters. And certainly you've seen probably 2 or 3 videos, of the airplane itself with the Alita sequel banner behind it. It turned out pretty good. We had a cosplayer there, in which we paid her a nice little sum for that. She wasn't too expensive though, and she was really into it, so that was pretty cool. So and she had made some posters and stuff like that, for the Alita sequel itself. And of course, we had a videographer there. We hired them, and Charlie Smith was actually there, being our point person. The Alita Army boots on the ground, as they would say. So, and we appreciate Charlie doing that for us. So yeah, we got some things going there, and another thing that's going, it's starting to move a little bit, but still haven't been able to get it to the person we want. But any day now, I'm expecting that Queen Studios bus to show up here. And then we're just going to keep it. I am going to be so tempted to open that thing, but I told Tony I would not open it, open the box, just see what it looks like, So, because I don't want to mess up anything on that. But that's a gift we want to give to Rosa Salazar, if we can ever get through to her, to tell her what we got. So, and get that to her. X-Man 577's out there. How's it going, X-Man? Good to see you out there in the chat, along with Angelus and a couple other folks. And just one more thing here about Avatar: Way of Water. It may be in a theater here and there. I don't know if it is or not, but if it is in a theater near you, then certainly you need to go see it, because it is a really great movie. It's number 3 highest grossing movie of all time. And James Cameron has got 3 out of 4 of the highest grossing movies of all time. So, James Cameron knows how to make money when he makes movies. So, hopefully Disney will take that into consideration. And another kind of a neat thing that I didn't put a slide together on is that, and I think some of you folks may have seen this already, but Rosa Salazar has been picked to play a character called Diamondback in Captain America 4 in the MCU. And I am hoping that thing takes off, boy. And I hope it makes, I hope it helps Disney out quite a bit, because they are in financial straits. And if it does well, and Rosa, I am so sure that Rosa's going to knock that out of the ballpark, as they would say in baseball terms. Or if you're a cricket lover, then she's going to hit it for a 6. So that'll be hopefully that'll help Disney decide. Well, I think if we if we can, now promote, Alita Battle Angel for a sequel, and they know Rose is in it, and she's done a great job in the MCU movie, then maybe that'll help too. So
Possibly, yeah.
so anyway, yeah, that's what we're hoping. So that's it for the formalities, I guess. To kind of set things up. So to go ahead and get right into the main topic is what is Alita made of? Now we're going to talk a little bit, certainly, or a lot about, Alita's, her construction, I guess, or what components and stuff like that that she's built on. Remember, she is a total replacement cyborg, so the only part of her, yeah, that's right, Angelus, ooh woo. I promised Angelus I'd put that in, so it's in there, so you'll see it. But anyway, that she's like I say, a total replacement cyborg, and the only part of her that's organic is her brain. And I think even her eyes are synthetic, from what I remember in Mars Chronicles, but I'm not real sure about that. And there's been some discussion about that, whether or not the people that live on Mars might have, particularly the folks in the military, I guess maybe they've evolved bigger eyes so they could see in the dim Martian sunlight.
Well, based on what
because
was in
Mars.
the novelization,
Mhm.
the crew on the ship, modifications to their skull indicated they had ocular implants, which means they had cybernetic eyes. So it
Oh,
could
okay, so
be it's
maybe that's
a military
yeah.
modification made to military personnel.
Yeah, and that would probably hold true for Alita too. Maybe her eyes are ocular implants as well.
Mhm.
So we're gonna talk about that. So there's some of the things you see that we're going to get into. We're going to spend a little bit of time on her bodies and her heart. Now, I think you've probably seen in the past, particularly in one. I think it was in one of the trivia contests that we identified. One of the questions of the trivia contest is how many bodies has Alita inhabited, I guess you could say, and that would be 10, and one of them is human. So she does have a human body as well. Of course, that was, I guess, there was two origins to that. One of them was that tree of life thing. When I guess what did Figure Four do? Was it a did he punch it or shoot it? I can't remember. And I guess like a wall or
Well,
material
there was
came
some sort
out.
of like a kind of like an embryonic sac on the
Yes.
exterior of the tree that was inside part of the station. And I can't
Yeah.
remember if it was Figure Four or Nova that went up to it and broke it open.
And Lita fell out, and
Yeah.
of course she fell into Figure Four's arms. How romantic!
Yep.
So and I guess Kashiro got a little bit racy with that one because she was nude. So,
Yeah.
but there
Well,
wasn't any detail.
from what I remember, somebody was saying that he did that one at a time when he thought he had some serious health issues, if I remember correctly, and he was
Yeah,
afraid he wouldn't get the chance to finish the story, so he kind of rushed it a bit.
yeah, yeah. I heard that too as well. And then, of course, her other body, was at the end of Last Order. It was bioprinted. So they got some of her DNA, and they could reconstruct a complete human, from the
Hmm.
DNA sequence. And the bioprinter printed her out. And of course, Figure Four got her as well. So,
Yep.
I guess it turned out in both cases, I guess. So,
Yep.
yeah, we're going to spend a little bit. Go ahead, Lee. I'm sorry. You're going to say something?
Oh, just agreeing. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're gonna spend a little time on her heart for sure, and we'll talk a little bit about that plasma weapon she has because that's a pretty important part of Alita herself. And there's two bodies that actually have that ability to, I guess, generate and control plasma, and that would be her Berserker body and her Imaginos body. So both of those could do. Of course, she had three Imaginos bodies. So, well, and if you go by, I guess Chaos Nova, you know, he rightly brought up the fact that there's also an well, certainly in the manga, there's the Imaginos 1.0, 2.0, and 2.1, but in the game, I guess that he's playing, there's an Imaginos 1.5 body. So, you know, I mean, I guess in that regard, I guess there's 11 bodies that she's inhabited, you know, so.
Okay.
And then, of course, we're going to take a quick look at the materials used to build her. And there's not a lot to that. We don't have a lot to go on that because Kishiro doesn't spend any real amount of time on that about what was used to build her. And we're going to skip the origin story in Mars Chronicles because it's got a pretty heavy creep factor in it, you know.
Just a bit.
Certainly, yeah. And we're going to talk about Alita's personality and her mental makeup, and then we're going to get to those eyes, you know, and those eyes are a key part of her that certainly gives her that great ooh-woo that Angelus always brings up, you know. So,
yep.
So here's some of Alita's bodies, and like I say, there's 10 bodies if you look at the canon, I guess you could call it. And if you include the body that's in the Martian memory game, then it'd be 11 bodies. But I think that one on the far left there, I think that is an Imaginos 1.0 body, or it might be a tuned body. I don't know which. Then, of course, the body next to that is going to be the civilian body. And then the one kind of in between there, between those two bodies on the left, it would be the motorball body. And then, of course, that body that she has there in that drawing, that's going to be the berserker body. So it's kind of a little bit of a repeat of what she had in the movie there. In the movie, she had the doll body, and you can see that in the picture in the center. That one on the left there is her in the doll body. We're going to get into what makes up these bodies too, at least the three in the middle there, I guess, or rather the doll body, the berserker body, and the Imaginos body. And we can certainly talk about the other bodies, but the one in the middle there is certainly the berserker body. We're pretty familiar with that. And then the motorball body, that's Maxie's favorite body right there, because it does look like Angelus. Yeah, you may not wish that if she's mad. So yeah, that's right, you might not want that. So how's bonjour, I guess, or bonsoir, David Alexandra. So and then, of course, you know, the one on the far right there, now that's Imaginos 2.1, I think. Could be 2.0, I guess. Angelus, at least he'd die happy. So, okay. All right. But anyway, we're going to talk certainly about that one at some length too, about her Imaginos bodies themselves, because they're all similar in construction, I guess. And certainly, you know, in that body, she's an android. She's not a cyborg in that one, because she does have a brain chip, you know. So at least that's my understanding. Did you get the same feeling there, Lee, or what? Because he did rebuild her, I guess, from her DNA, but I think he just used that as like I guess a foundation, or like almost like a building plan, right? You know, to build Alita, I guess, because the technology they have in the 26th century is pretty advanced, at least on Zalem, at least.
Yeah, I need to apologize because I actually missed. I must have missed a little bit of what you were leading up to there, because I was looking at a Reddit post on the large eyes and the science behind them, trying to kind of brush up a little bit for the next topic. So I'm afraid I slipped up there.
Well, we're just, basically that's all right. Because we're gonna save that, because we're gonna get to that when we get to her eyes, certainly, you know. But what I was saying was that Alita in her Imaginos bodies, she is an android. She's not a cyborg. So,
Yeah, because she's got a
and
fully synthetic body at that point, including the brain.
including the brain chip. Yeah. Whereas, you know, in the other bodies, you know, the non-Imaginos body, she's a cyborg, you know, so she does have a human brain. So, and I think her skin in the movie, anyway, it's synthetic, but I think it is real human skin. It's kind of along the same idea, I guess, that in the movies, the Terminator movies, how they grow human skin to put over the Terminator's, you know, I guess the body they have, they grow human skin for that. So I think she has real skin, but it's not from a human. I mean, you know, it's grown artificially or synthetically, I guess, would be
Now, that's the
the
thing.
idea.
Based on what I was seeing of the condition of the skin after she gets found by Ito, I'm convinced it's fully synthetic as well. I mean, that's the thing. People
Yeah,
keep calling it like silicone or something like that. And I
yeah,
don't see any reason for it to be something so primitive as mere silicon or
I agree.
silicone.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, considering
Yeah,
the
I agree.
massive advances in all the other technology they've got, with the ability to do the meat machine interface between the brain and the body, and how a mechanical body can act so natural to a human brain implanted in it, plus all the other stuff that they've got going on. I mean, antimatter heart. I mean, the kind of
Yeah,
technology containment systems would be needed to have that function. Not to mention the
I'd
stasis
have to have
field
some kind
systems,
of,
the
yeah,
interplanetary flight for spaceships, numerous
yeah,
space elevators. I mean, there's a broad range of all this stuff that got advanced to high levels. So having her skin be something like mere silicone, that's
yeah.
just silly to me.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it is real skin, you know, that's
Yeah.
grown, you know,
Well, that's the thing. I don't think
artificially.
it's necessarily organic because it's in too good of a shape when she's found by Ito. I mean, it's tattered looking, it's dirty and stuff, but
Yeah.
it it's the same color that it was before. It has no indication of contusions or bruising or any kind of what do you call scrapes, lacerations, or
What?
anything like that.
Well,
So
on
it's
the side of her head,
probably,
though.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
go ahead.
so it's you've got. I mean, there's no bleeding or anything either. So it's probably
Yeah.
some kind of advanced form of synthetic flesh that is not, while not quite as durable as the rest of the body, is still durable enough to take a bit of a beating and not just fall apart. Because if you have just flesh on the head, even if it's lab grown, that's not
Mhm.
going to be even a fraction of as tough as the rest of the body in a combat situation. And you're going to end up
Yeah,
somebody with,
and I
the first time a grenade goes off in their face, is going to strip their skull off and just have their skull with no
yeah,
face or anything.
yeah. Yeah, and I guess the fact that, you know, like you mentioned, that there is no bleeding or anything like that, I guess that does, you know, I wonder if it's kind of like a genetically enhanced skin of some kind,
Well,
you
that's
know,
the
that
thing. I don't think it really even has to be that. With the ability to create all these various materials with the kind of nanotechnology they had available, even in Iron City, they've got. Somebody was mentioning Sharin had created I think it was Sharin, had created a type of synthetic flesh that was more advanced than what had previously been available in Iron City. So that even before she came along and did that, they had a synthetic flesh that could be used to create a realistic look to a face or a hands or whatever. From what I gathered, it was just really expensive to purchase and possibly even maintain. So it may not be something a lot of people went with, or they may not have gone with a
yeah,
lot of it on the body.
yeah, that's right. Well, certainly it's not normal human skin, that's for sure. And I
Oh yeah.
wasn't meaning to imply that, you know, for sure, because yeah, you know, one of the problems that that human skin would have, like when she was, whether she's thrown off of Zalem or thrown off of Jeru, one of the two,
Hmm.
that'd be a long fall, you know, and getting kind of ripped up like she was in the scrapyard. You know, if it was normal human skin, probably bacteria would probably, you know, have wreak havoc on it, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it
not to
didn't
mention the
appear. I mean, it
passage
looked
of
like,
time, for that matter.
yeah, that's right. So, yeah, because it would certainly have some kind of senescence of cells, wouldn't they? If they
Yeah, I mean,
were
hundreds
typical
of years
human.
lying in that junk heap, regular human flesh, uh, that's not going to stand up well to that kind of treatment.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. I agree 100%.
Oh, then
Yeah, it
there's
is
also the heat
definitely
of reentry that would have charbroiled all the flesh off of her skull and face.
yeah. Hello, channel does not exist from Poland. How are you doing?
Hello.
Howdy.
It's good to have you on. Yeah, we were just talking about the various bodies that Alita has. You know, if you what we had talked about, channel is you know that Angelus, hi Chanel, he says. So well,
The reason
okay.
I had it
So
Chanel before isn't because of a style trait, but because I thought that is how channel is spelled, because English is not my native language, so I just assumed that's how channel is spelled.
well, we knew who you were, so that was okay. You know, yeah, we're not too perfect on this stream, so you know. But yeah, we were talking about, you know, according to, I guess, the manga and so forth, what's in canon is that Alita has like 10 bodies, and if you include the body, one of the bodies that's in the Martian memory game, the Imaginos 1.5 body, then we got 11 bodies, you know. And we were just talking about Alita's skin, you know, about how it's some kind of advanced form of synthetic. I don't know, Lee. Would you think it would be like quasi-organic, or it'd be hard to describe it? You know,
I
I
would
guess
think
it's like
biomechanical after a certain fashion. It's something that looks like a natural um, human skin, but is constructed in some sort of synthetic fashion out of synthetic materials. So it probably, I
yeah,
mean, that's the other thing too. I mean, her expressions, that requires a significant number of small facial muscles. So are the facial
yeah,
muscles in the artificial flesh she has on her face, or are those more along the lines of like the artificial muscles in her arms or something like that, and they're just covered with the skin?
And that
yeah,
doesn't say much about the movie, but we do see in the tuned arc when Alita manages to rip part of the face of one of her other versions. We can assume that those other versions have tuned bodies similar to Alita's, and the skin
yeah,
comes off relatively cleanly, as in there's nothing really beneath the skin except the metal part. So we can assume
Mhm.
there that the skin is non-organic, and any muscle is within the skin, because there's no blood, comes off clean. So it has to be like
So something synthetic, definitely.
yeah, synthetic, soft
yeah.
synthetic mask. But that's only in the tuned
But
body, and we don't know how that translates to other
yeah,
bodies.
well, certainly better than human flesh. I mean, it's yeah, for sure, it's much more advanced, I think.
She never bruises. Her face is never bruised, so it can't be human skin
Yeah,
in any way.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Lee was just mentioning that a while ago, for sure. You know, and I think she probably has the same kind of skin in the Imaginos body. You know,
Actually, the Imaginos
but
body,
we're
I got the impression was a fully one-piece
mhm,
unit built of those Imaginos cells that Destinova created,
yep,
and it could
Yeah, it
just
was.
take
yep,
on the form and appearance of anything she could imagine. So if she imagined her face to look a certain way, it would almost
yeah,
instinctively just simply take that form and look like human skin, even if it wasn't.
yeah.
Also,
Well,
that's
for
the only
Angelus's, go ahead, Channel.
the Imaginos, as far as I remember, is the only body where the limbs couldn't be freely detached.
Mm.
Yeah, and for Angelus's sake, I guess it's a good thing she imagines herself as having all that uwu, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't think I'll forget that beautiful little side comic where it's explained that Alita shapeshifts, that her boobs away
Yeah.
for fights into the sword or just anywhere else, and when she's not fighting, she gets the boobs back.
Yeah,
How
she's
many
very
women
much a
would like
shape.
to be able to do that? Just, do I put
Oh,
my boobs
well,
now
you
or
tell
not?
us.
What?
You tell us, channel. Would you like to
Yes,
be
I would
able
love
to
to
do
be able to
that?
do that. I know I know it's called having small boobs and owning a push-up, but like having naturally big boobs and being able to just disappear them and summon them back up would be beautiful.
My girlfriend had the same complaints when she was talking about when she was younger. She used to do like softball stuff like that. She was complaining that they would always get in the way whenever she was trying to bat or throw the ball or something like that. She hated it.
They get way too sweaty.
Well, Alita is very much a shapeshifter, isn't she? I mean, in that Imaginos body. I mean,
Yeah.
she's
She
in
decides
the
to be a cat
Star
girl.
Trek. Yeah, that's my favorite body, by the way, the one with the tail. I really like that tail. But anyway,
For
oops,
some reason,
sorry, that's a little creepy, but
for some
but
reason, I always
anyway, I really
imagined.
like Cat Lita.
For some reason, I always imagined Alita in the cat tail version to also have ears, but then I checked. She never actually had cat ears in any of her humanoid bodies.
Yeah, it just seemed to be the tail for some
Yeah.
reason. She seemed
And I
to
just-
take a liking
Yeah.
to it briefly and kept it
Yeah.
for a little bit.
I remember the tail and I
Well,
just imagined the ears, and I was disappointed to find out that she didn't actually ever have cat ears except for that one. That she never actually had cat ears.
well, the fact that she likes that tail, that her Uncle Creek approves. So anyway, but she in the Star Trek universe, they call creatures that are shapeshifters, they call them comaloids. And that's basically what she is, isn't it? She's basically a shapeshifter. She can anything she can think of. It's kind of like Green Lantern, in a way. Green Lantern has that power ring that anything he can imagine, that the ring can generate. Except in Alita's case, it's inherent in her body. I mean, she can imagine herself as like 50 stories tall if she wants. Or,
I think there's still some preservation of mass that has to be kept.
Yeah,
I think if she went to really
right
tall,
about that.
she'd probably have to hollow out her body to make all the mass,
She could
increase the size.
She could probably kind of like berserkers absorb some mass, but it's some level of conservation of matter would still apply.
Yeah, that's right. She would, because she could probably imagine herself as tall as maybe 6 feet, maybe 7 feet, maybe as small as 3 feet. But you're right. She's probably got to be in the same order of magnitude in terms of size, doesn't she? Or else she's it's not going to work for her, I think. And Angelus, I know Dan and I have had this discussion. And Alita in her 2.1 body, Imagino's 2.1 body, she is like a Saiyan, isn't she? I mean, and probably is even more powerful in some ways in the fact that she can shapeshift, so yeah.
I love how she had wings and they were really majestic
I
for a
love
cover
that.
and for one shot. But then three pages later, she loses those wings, likely because Kishiro looked at them and thought, "Yeah, they're beautiful, but there's no way I'm drawing that every panel for the next volume."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I think she might have thought they weren't very practical. I mean, because they were made of berserker blades.
Them away. She just had them ripped off during the fight.
Blades.
She just had them ripped off in a fight and never bothered regenerating them.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, in that regard, our girl's pretty badass, isn't she? She's badass in that berserker body, but in that Imagino's body, that's godlike right there, especially that 2.1 body. Imagino's 2.1 body is certainly extremely potent, in terms of power and what she can do with it. There's I guess a person on Twitter that I follow and follows me. She put out a tweet, says, "What's your favorite superhero?" And I said, well, she's not a superhero, but it would be Alita Battle Angel. And of course, this person said, "What a shock!" That would come from me, you know.
Yeah.
But she does have superhero level abilities, doesn't she? Even in the Berserker body, she's got superhero level ability. That's for sure.
Thor
She
would
has
like to have a
extremely
word.
superhero.
superhuman levels of capability. Yes.
Thor would like to
Exactly.
have
Yeah,
a
we're
word
gonna
on
get to
that
that.
lightning.
Yeah, we're going to go over that too. This is just one of
Okay.
the slides we got. So yeah, we're going to get to that. So anyway, if you count the Martian memory body, she's got 11 bodies. 4 of them are Imaginos bodies. Really, really potent body. She's an android in those 4 bodies, and all the other bodies, she's a cyborg except for the human body. Of course, she's 100% human in the human body, you know. And for those of you that have read, that have not read, I guess, The Last Order, spoiler alert, at the end of that, there are 2 Alitas. So, you know, one's human and one's got the Imaginos 2.1 body. So, you know, that's kind of makes it, in a way, you know, it kind of makes it, I don't know how to say it. I wouldn't say weird, but, you know, kind of ambiguous to a degree, or, you know, confusing or whatever. Because the Alita that's at the end of Last Order, that's human Alita, doesn't have the memories that Alita has in her Imaginos body that she had acquired after she was blown up, you know, by Nova, by the baby bomb, you know.
Yep.
So, but she has all the memories up to that point, you know, which is, of course, all Figure 4, you know, that's, she would know who Figure 4 is and stuff like that. So
She's an Alita who ended the story at the ending of the first manga, the first run.
yes, that's right. Actually, I guess the Alita, because the Alita that got blown up by Nova, that was the tuned body, wasn't it? I guess that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So she would have all of the memories up to that point. The human Alita would. So at least the Last Order Alita. Now the other Alita that was in that Tree of Life thing, we don't have enough information on that one, you know.
There's a
So,
theory that the one in the Tree of Life, since it's the non-canon ending, the Tree of Life is just the
yeah,
third Ouroboros that was played to the Alita brain in the box during Last Order, and when she, because
yes,
partially because the position she wakes up, she's in at the very ending of that tree part where she wakes up in Figure's arms is quite similar to how she wakes up in the ending of Last Order. So it's just the dream
yeah,
transitioning out into her actually getting a new body.
yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense, I guess.
The main counterpoint is that one, then Alita would have to be some level psychic, because how would she know anything about Kateris if she was blown up by Nova before even getting to Zalam? And also, how would she know
Yeah,
even if, okay, let's assume she kind of knew what Zalam looked like because Lou sent her pictures or something. So that can be explained, but
yep,
nothing about her knowing of Jeru can be explained. And another one is that when people dream, they don't usually dream about themselves dying and everyone else's reaction. So that, then again, that's weird that the main character in her dream would be Koyomi while she herself is in a coma. But hey, that's Alita, baby.
you know what would be interesting? I guess we could talk about this when we get to the psychology part of this. But you know, Alita dreaming. You know, we could certainly talk about, you know, what's behind that. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind there when we get to the psychology part, because that's something, one of the things I do want to talk about is that if Alita had any kind of lucid dream, you know, that would be interesting for her, you know, I think. So anyway, we'll get to that part here in a little while. So, but anyway, Alita she has 11 bodies, 6 are cyborg, 1 is human, 4 are androids. So our girl's she's been through the mill, hasn't she, in terms of that? She's
Certainly been
had
through a
more
lot.
bodies. Yeah, that's for sure. So, and then of course, this, you know, putting her in different bodies requires a great deal of effort. Now, this is, of course, at the first of the movie. where Ito is actually, if everybody on this stream remembers this, but Ito finds her in the scrapyard, and he finds basically her core, and and certainly her brain is in that. I guess it's more of a carbon nanotube, titanium type of skull of some sort that she has. It's extremely tough, and it's certainly equipped with some kind of stasis technology in it that keeps her brain going. Not to mention the fact that she still had probably some berserker cells that were also keeping her brain repaired, and keeping it active and stuff like that. So between the stasis field and the berserker cells that she still had remaining, that explains how she can survive for 300 years. Because because even in a stasis field, it would probably slow time down a lot, but you would need nourishment of some kind, and perhaps those berserker cells could do that in a certain way. I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting to see how that would happen. But I think in the novelization, what was it, 36 hours that it took for Ito to put her, into that doll body, I think. And they went like 36 hours straight, didn't they? Or was it 48 hours? I don't remember now.
I remember it was 48 hours straight to put her in the berserker body after she got sliced up by
Yes.
Gruishka. The doll body, I can't remember, but I think it was around a day. But it was a significant period of time.
Yes. Yeah. And it was.
At least I think it was.
Yeah, it's very labor intensive too, and you can see he's got that kind of that control mechanism there, that viewport that he's, he's
the
probably a lot of that's. Yeah, a lot of that's probably he's directing a good bit of it for sure, but I would venture to say that a lot of that what's behind those mechanisms there is AI. That would be my guess.
Seems likely, yeah. Some kind of a non-sentient sort of AI system that's just basically taking the scans of what he's reading on her body, doing some of the less delicate work while he's taking care of the more precise connections that he wants to make sure are done right.
Yeah, and probably it's probably, who knows what the computers are like in those days. Now, and what's really interesting about the Alitaverse is we know that the technology on Zalem, and particularly in Jeru, is pretty advanced, but the technology for the most part in Iron City is kind of, it's not so advanced. As a matter of fact, a lot of it looks like, we would understand it if we were, certainly thrust into it. But there is some of the technology, like what you see, what Ito has, they're building Alita, that is, kind of outside that. I mean, it's extremely advanced. It has the ability to connect, nerve endings in the brain to, kind of some sort of system interface, with the body that she's in. I mean, that's hundreds of years in advance of anything we can do now. I mean, we can kind of give people prosthetic arms or hands, but we don't have the ability at this point to directly connect them to their brain, but maybe that's coming pretty fast. I don't know. I do recall that they do have eyes, artificial eyes that somehow they connect.
They have
optic nerve,
artificial eyes, ears, and they've got machine brain interfaces that are pretty simplistic and crude, but they've been refining them quite a bit. There's even a story that I put up on, I referred to it at least on Discord, about a woman who got some brain implants to help control seizures she was having. And so,
I heard about that too.
Yeah, they got all kinds of these various, sort of brain implants that they've been working with, polishing up and refining. But there's also been some other issues that had been coming along with them. Some of those issues being legal in nature, like the woman with the seizures who got the implant to control them. She was able to start living a normal life for once. Then then some years down the road, the company that makes the implants went under from, I think it was bankruptcy or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But because of the legalities of the terms of service she had signed, she was forced to get them removed.
What?
Oh
Yeah.
man.
It's not like a one and done
that
contract that
sucks.
she paid for them and she keeps them?
No. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of companies have been doing that with their intellectual properties. They don't want their customers owning any of their stuff. So you get something like cybernetics or the implants, something like that. Even if we do start getting it, there's the danger of these corporations passing these laws, making it illegal for the person using the prosthetics to own the prosthetics.
You know what? It's interesting because I wonder if some you know, I guess healthcare systems in other countries,
Mhm.
you know, that are not kind of like our U.S. system, which is kind of a profit-oriented, you know, or driven type
It's
of
a rather
healthcare system.
profit-oriented, yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder, like in some countries, like England, let's say, or perhaps Australia, Angelus, if you're still out there.
Well, that story was
That
from
wouldn't
Australia,
be the
actually.
case. Oh, was it? So maybe there
Yeah.
is some, yeah, there is
Oh,
probably still
England
some
has the
corporate.
problem currently that a lot of their doctors were actually Italian, and after Brexit, doctors who would usually go alternatively to work a few months in Britain, a few months in Italy, just straight up moved to Italy, so they had a huge doctor shortage because they all moved to Italy.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, so we've
Well, I
got all
think
kinds
England.
of implants and prosthetics and stuff. But there's actually a video game called Deus Ex, and I think it's Mankind Divided is the specific title, where basically large corporations are doing that kind of thing, where they're basically giving people these anti-rejection drugs so people can get their cybernetics implanted quickly and safely.
Yeah.
But you have to keep paying like a almost like a subscription fee to be able to keep the because the effects of the drugs aren't permanent. You have to keep taking more of them, and if you stop, your body rejects the cybernetics.
Oh, and that's going to be a big
That is
problem.
a dystopian setup.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm kind of like looking at some of that stuff and looking at the kind of things that could have happened in Iron City or in the scrapyard in the manga, and it's like all these just horrific things that the factory or Zalem could have like inflicted on the people there. It's just like it gets real nightmarish.
Well, you know, I'm wondering if you know, if what sounds like what that lady that you were talking about there, Lee, that you know had, I guess, had to have those implants removed. Seems like to me that they could have put a clause in the contract that said, hey, in the event that this company goes under, you know, she still retains the devices, but she is bound by some sort of, you know, NDA or whatever.
Not to disclose how they work or
type
allow them to be studied or something like that.
Yeah,
Well, there are all
something
kinds
like
of
that.
there are all kinds of much more humane things they could have done. They chose not to.
See, that sucks. But anyway, don't
Like
get me started now.
Yeah.
Like with insulin production, is it true that in America it's so expensive that some people drive to Canada to buy insulin?
Oh, it's very common.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
there are people who have rationed their own insulin to the point that they died from it because they couldn't afford it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I've
right.
seen a number of stories about that.
Well, I'll either drive to Canada or Mexico, one of the two, you know.
Yeah. But back to Alita and her.
Back to Alita, yeah. We want to stay away from politics.
in the healthcare universe in Europe, the problem isn't usually there is sometimes that the drugs are ridiculously expensive, but usually it's not that they're expensive; it's just that they're really hard to get. Like you can
Yeah.
pay for them, but oh sorry, they're made on demand and we won't have them unless we order them. And so if it's something relatively normal, they have it the next day. If it's something that's custom made, then it might literally be custom made for a person, and oh no, we'll have it in 4 months. And in 4 months, an actual situation that happened to me, a stupidly expensive drug stopped being produced, as in the company completely stopped producing it halfway through a treatment.
God almighty.
Sounds
But
about right.
At least that's a drug, not something that has to be surgically removed from the body, so that does not compare. Still, it would be nice if they
Wow.
not that this one drug, they just pulled this drug out of the market completely, and they pulled out mostly out of my country.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess not to stay on this too much.
Sorry.
That's all right. Buenas tardes, Alejandro Camago.
Hi. How does cyberpunk cute girls turn into complaining about medical about healthcare systems?
Well, it seems like a lot of the girls in cyberpunk are cute. That's for sure. That in an anime.
I mean, isn't cyberpunk partially born about from complaining about healthcare systems? Like, isn't one of the themes of cyberpunk?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
A healthcare system based mostly on profit is part of a dystopian future. So it's part of that whole cyberpunk thing where you've got corporations so interested in profit that they're willing to sacrifice human lives in order to get just a little bit more. I mean, that's kind of part of the whole, dystopian cyberpunk future sort of thing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's right, Angelus. Angelus, maybe tomorrow, if you come on Radio Chaos, you could give us an update on Maxie, see how he's doing. So anyway, but Alita being integrated.
Well, I was just going to say with Maxie, I hadn't heard anything, so I'm hoping no news is good news.
Yeah, I think that's the case, Lee, because he's the last I heard, I guess Angelus told me, that he was still recovering and he was in the hospital. Now that was several days ago, and I believe he's supposed to be going home pretty soon, Angelus, if I'm not correct, if I'm not incorrect. So.
Okay. Well, he'll be telling us about tomorrow, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. So he's going to let us know how Maxie's doing tomorrow. So that's cool. Yeah, no problem. You got to get rid of that cough, though, Angelus. That's for sure. Yeah, there's Lee.
Didn't know it's transmittable over internet.
Yeah, that's right. Well, maybe it's one of those computer viruses,
STD, screen transmitted disease.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there you go. So, but as you can see here, unlike the Imaginos, we're going to get to the Imaginos and Berserker body, but unlike that body, see, this is kind of in my mind, the doll body is not as advanced, certainly as the Berserker body, because we know that just from the movie. And also the Berserker body is not as advanced as the Imaginos body. Yeah. So here, I mean, you can see like a lot of hardware, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and we're going to get to this in a little bit, but
if you're talking about the innards, a lot of it is covered up by the exterior plates on the body.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
A lot of it still has gaps that are going to be very fun to clean.
Yeah. And of course, with this one, with a body like this, which, like I say, we're going to get to this, but this is a body like this, even if it's advanced, is going to probably require some maintenance. Now, she does have like, I guess those cyber blood, but that cyber blood is not berserker cells, Yeah. So, I mean, certainly she's going to be more, how would you say, durable than a human being, for sure. Just 100% human being. But, I mean, she's going to require, you see, like on her hip down there, if you see down there toward the bottom of it, you'll see what looks like a little circular you know, it looks like a little hinge, doesn't it? Well, that thing has got to be maintained because it could freeze up, you know, and she wouldn't be able to walk, you know.
Yep.
So it's a little bit different than a Berserker body or the Imaginos body.
I would imagine that the construction of a body like that unlike the Berserker, is non-self-repairing and non-regenerating. You have
Yeah.
to kind of balance the cost of materials with ease of maintenance, like some financial considerations in there for a lot of people who have
Yes.
cybernetics in Iron City.
And look at that shot. Boy, that looks very much like Rosa, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So this body certainly still more advanced than anything we can do today, but it's almost recognizable to us, isn't it? I mean, in terms of, you know, it is made of materials that, you know, that you got to maintain. It's got mechanisms in it. It's got, you know, kind of like parts in it, if you want to think of it like you were saying, Lee, that, you know, have got to be kept up, you know, got to be kept in good operating condition.
Yeah, maintained and
So
all
it'd
that.
be
Yeah.
like like your car, you know, you got to take your car in for, you know, for
Actually, it
servicing.
might be worse than your car because your body, you're using it all the time, constantly. I mean, even when you walk, just the act of walking places a lot of stress on the heel, parts of the leg, and the spine.
Yeah, jealous. Well, be careful now. Remember, my Alita's my niece now. You know, yeah, for sure. Oh, we lost channel. Holy moly, what happened
Hopefully she'll be back.
there? Yeah.
Hopefully it's just technical
So
difficulties on her
anyway,
end that she can quickly get, fixed.
yeah. So anyway, as we said, you know, that being integrated into the doll body like this takes at least a day, maybe 36 hours.
I would
And
imagine it was
that's
even
if it,
harder for Ito to do it with Alita because of her advanced
yeah,
Martian core and the technology in it, trying to
yeah,
jury rig connections to get it into a much less advanced Earth tech body.
yeah. Yeah, and it probably is one of those situations too where he had to come up on the fly, right?
Hmm.
You know,
Which I
just
think would
kind of,
speak to his, brilliance as a cyber surgeon.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, and of course he had to have a gearhead there helping him.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
and her
okay,
capabilities as
welcome
well.
back, channel. Yeah, we saw you had dropped off there for a little bit. You didn't click on the same window and pull up another thing on your browser, did you? The same tab, brother.
She may not have a voice right now. Looks like she might be muted.
Hi.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah,
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, my internet, the sound was awful, so I tried to refresh it and it kicked me out, but I couldn't really hear what was going on anyway.
Okay.
Well, we were just
welcome back.
continuing the discussion. Yeah, we were still talking about the difficulty in installing, and Lee brought up a good point that, you know, Alita's core is Martian tech. I mean, it's very advanced, and the body that he put her in here, that doll body, is less advanced. So he had to get real creative connecting all the nerve endings, I guess you know, the systems that are in her core itself. It had to have some adapters he probably had to come up with, you know, to make it work, you know, to make Alita be able to walk and talk and stuff like that. So, okay, any other thoughts about this, you guys? Well, it's a little bit different with the Berserker body, wasn't it? I mean, as Lee pointed out, you know, it probably was pretty challenging to get her integrated into the doll body.
Well,
And
I
I
think
can
a lot
imagine,
of the work with this, I think, was the stabilizing her in the wreckage of the doll body, then safely stripping her core out of it, while also figuring
Mhm.
out how to work the systems in the Berserker body so that she could be safely integrated into it.
Because the bodies in
Well,
Iron City were probably a little, they might have not been, but there's a chance they were somewhat standardized, so the cybernetic parts could be interchanged, but they would not have the same
Yeah.
standards as Mars.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, but I think the fact that her core is designed to interface with the Berserker body, in some ways it was probably a little easier, and in other ways it was probably pretty tough because it's more complex, you know, but at least
Well, I
he
imagine a lot of
probably
that
didn't
might
have
have
to come
also
up.
been unfamiliarity with the technology itself, because
Yeah,
Ito learned how to use or how to deal with some of the technology in her core, but then he had to try
yeah,
and deal with the technology in the core and this advanced weaponized body.
yeah. And you remember in that one scene where she's, you know, after she's been fully integrated into the Berserker body, and she kind of does the one finger stand, and you know all that. And of course, Angelus would say that where she really has some woo woo, but that you know, I guess you know the fact that you know that he said, you remember he told her that. Well, you didn't exactly come with a manual, did you? In other words, she was kind of playing with that plasma weapon, you know, on the end of her
Yeah.
finger. It was, you know, and it was, she probably had an instinctive kind of, you know, control of it, if as it were,
Yeah, it
you
could be
know,
there's
that
some kind of
maybe,
like ingrained training that she'd had with it. But yeah, like he was saying,
yeah,
it's like there was no instruction manual, so I can't tell you, you know, anything more than what you
yeah,
already know just looking at it.
yeah, that's right. So, and he probably had a hell of a time connecting that stuff too. I mean, you know, even though he didn't have to come up with adapters. See, I think in the doll body, he had to come up probably on the fly. He had to come up with some little devices that were adapters that would allow
I imagine there was
that
a lot of
body.
yeah, jury rigging adapters trying to make connections match up that weren't ever meant to match up, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Trying to put the
yeah. Because
Berserker body. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, Channel.
No, you go first.
No, you're fine. I'm done.
I was gonna say that trying to put together the Berserker body with Alita's core would be like like when you have some complicated equipment that you're supposed to put together, not necessarily complicated, that comes in that's supposed to be assembled, and there's an instruction, but you throw out the instruction immediately because why would I need it? And then 5 hours, then 2 hours, and you realize you have no idea what you're doing, except instead of putting together a weird fan, you're putting it together a person, and there is no
Yeah,
instruction in the garbage, so you can't go to retrieve it.
It's like
that's
putting
right.
together IKEA furniture without the instructions or the Allen wrench.
Yeah, and unlike your IKEA furniture that you can disassemble if it goes horribly wrong, this is your daughter.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, at Channel, you probably know this already, but most ladies know this. Guys don't really follow the instructions anyway, so we just
My
gotta
first
put
reaction
things
is to not
together.
follow the instruction either.
Well, that must be
Yeah,
quite a bit
but
different than that. First thing I look at is the instruction
I
manual.
might eye it and then,
yeah,
that
I
makes
do
sense.
too.
Why
I
should
do
I
too.
read it? I mean, then if the pictures didn't convey it, I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna try just
Yeah,
without reading.
yeah, that's right. So anyway, I guess in the novelization, and of course Shirin said this in the movie. You know, I guess Ito was considered probably the finest cyber surgeon in Zalem and Iron City. I mean, he was tip top, and the fact that he could integrate Alita's core, first of all, in the doll body, and be able to integrate her core into the Berserker body without any kind of manual or instructions. Because you remember
And have it
in
work
the
right the
doll
first
body,
time.
yes, that's right. Because you know, if you remember when she came down the stairs, and he kind of, any pain anywhere, any numbness, you know, any this motor dysfunction or something like that, you know.
Yeah, wanted to make sure his work was
And
holding up.
yeah, that's right. And she still worked perfectly You
Yep.
know, I mean that's a pretty solid you know, testament to his ability, isn't it? I mean, he is
I
the
think so.
finest, the finest cyber surgeon in the Elitaverse, you know. So, and of course, all of those hunter warriors respected him so much that when he went into that fight, you know, and he said, knock it off or no more free repairs, they stopped immediately.
Yeah,
They
I think a
didn't
lot of
give him the
people ended
signal.
up, at least, especially in the early days as a hunter warrior, tended to rely on his free repairs to keep themselves going after tangling with a bad mark.
Yeah, that's right. So
So he
anyway,
probably
but I
became
think,
something of a cornerstone of their society, as it were.
yeah, for sure. Which was interesting that Gerwishka would want to kill him. I mean,
Well,
Because
Grishka was
there's no
getting
more
Grishka,
free
I guess.
his.
repairs for
Yeah,
anyone else.
Yeah.
Grishka wasn't going to Ito for any of his servicing. Grishka had
Yeah, he
somebody
was
else
going
doing
to.
his servicing. Somebody
Yeah,
that had a
yeah,
direct
that's right.
connection to Zalem.
Considering Sharon's, I'm
Yeah.
not wasting my time on you. I'm assuming she used to work on him, but she no longer does, because if she did, she wouldn't want to, because again, unless someone's paying her huge money, she's not wasting her time.
Yeah.
I think it's more along the line she felt he was beneath her talents.
That too.
Yes.
She said she's not wasting her talent, not her time, but she wouldn't waste
Yeah,
it.
that's right. Why should I waste my talent on you? You know.
Yeah. You're
And
a
of
street
course,
thug. Why
it's
should I bother
probably
with you?
well. The thing of it is too, in the novelization, you know, they kind of go into not his backstory so much, but you kind of get a little bit of a feeling about, you know, what his history was. He was a serious contender for final champion. And of course,
Yeah.
she would work on him with that. But now he's gone off the rails, you know, and he's down in the sewer or down in the underworld or whatever. I don't have time for this. That'd be her thought, you know. I mean, you know, you're worthless to me. And even Vector said when he walked in, when he was hanging up in that rig, you know,
Oh yeah, breaking
why
him
are you
down for
wasting
scrap.
your time on it? Yeah, why are you wasting your time on this street junk? So, you know, so he's definitely fall, and like you said, had the mighty have fallen.
Are we stripping him for parts? That's what he asked her.
Also, how
Yeah,
did they
that's right.
get Gravishka from the bedroom into the lab? Because he looks way wider than the door.
There's no doubt that behind the scenes they had, servants come up with probably heavily augmented bodyguards and servants come up and drag him down there.
But like, how did they? He wouldn't fit for the
They-
door, so did they just throw him out the balcony and get him in for the main entrance?
Vector's very rich.
Well, they
no doubt they made him fit, and then worried about the repairs later.
They probably had a service elevator of some sort too that they could, because we don't know what.
Well, I think
floor,
Channel
that
was
could have been a
also
different
referring
floor.
to those interior doors, which
Yeah, the interior doors. That's my problem.
Yeah, the interior.
lab
Some
doors
of the interior
would fit him. It's the interior doors to the bedroom that wouldn't fit him. So
a number of the interior doors, like the one that Vector goes out, look like double doors. So they look like they're big enough if you tilt them a little bit. Plus, he was missing a shoulder, so he's a lot narrower than he was before.
Yeah.
Jak się popieści, to się zmieści. Worst case scenario, they just took him apart and they put him back apart together downstairs.
Possibly that too, yeah.
And I guess, Lee, to your point, what did it say? 48 hours to put her back together in this berserker body?
I think in the novelization it was 2 days straight when they had Gerhad basically sort of relating what happened, telling it from her point of view, sort of.
Yeah, that's right. So even though coming up with, the kind of the jury rigging and adapters and other kind of transitional devices he had to develop just to get Alita's core to talk to the doll body, the complexity of the berserker body was probably, pretty tough, and without a manual of any kind, he would probably connect one system and find out, oh, that's not right, disconnect it. And, he probably was a lot of trial and error in there too, to see, Okay, well, now we got the Imaginos body. Now, this is a different animal for sure. Well, actually, the berserker body is certainly a different animal from the doll body, but this thing is made up of berserker of strictly of what's called imagino cells or nanites, you know, that are based on berserker cells, but they are, I guess, they're more advanced. I guess I
No,
don't
they're
know
just
it.
berserker cells, but with
Just
but Nova took a look at them and said, "Nah, we're naming them so they don't sound too Venusian."
Well, I think he did
Vinny,
upgrade
I
them a
wonder
bit with some
He did
additional
make some small
capability.
modifications, but
yeah, go ahead.
he did make some small modifications, but they're mostly berserker
Mostly
cells.
rebranding.
Mostly rebranding, and they're less uncontrollable in consuming matter. But other than that, it's mostly rebranding and some small changes.
Well, he had to do something to them because I think the berserker cells didn't have the ability to, when Alita was in her berserker body, to do shape shifting, did she? I mean,
They did. I mean, Zapan could shapeshift, so it was a matter of removing the blocks, like the restraints on the body.
okay.
Well, when he started doing the
Okay.
shape-shifting, though, it's also when the thing went into, destruct mode and started eating everything around it.
Wasn't it already in destruct mode?
Was it already in destruct? Well,
As in the moment the restraints were removed, it already started destroying the lab before it even fused with Zapan, so it was already in that mode.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like destruct mode seemed to be an inherent part of that shape-shifting capability.
It might have been, but it also might have been that when he removed all restraints, he removed there was a separate restraint on destroy everything and on shapeshifting, and he just removed them at the same time. So this is what we saw.
Yeah.
They might have been separate. There might have been separate blocks for those two things.
Yeah, possibly. He was messing with something he didn't really know much about, so.
He didn't know anything about.
Yeah. Well, these.
He knew it might do something awesome.
Yeah, I guess these imagino cells. I mean, I think even today we're starting to play with nano machines.
Oh, we've been playing with nanomachines for decades now. I remember back in the 90s, I read about a tiny turbine that they had built atom by atom.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I gotta check that out. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, and they've used electron microscopes to actually write wording on like a piece of material. And it's just basically one raised molecule off of the material itself, and they write words on it.
Good God Almighty! Well, they're not that far away, are they? I guess.
Oh, they're still a ways off, but the advances they've made have been a little surprising.
I know it's not. I heard this is Alita related. When I might tell.
Go.
No, she's breaking up.
You're
listed possible uses. Cosmetic nanotechnology. Perhaps.
Yeah, channel your audio is going in and out. So.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Now I can.
And what were you saying?
Sounds like it's still cutting out.
Yeah, your audio is still cutting out. Angelus wants you to stay on the stream. Yeah, some of your words come in, then it cuts out. So yeah, we can't hear you.
And I'm not even saying anything right now.
Okay, well, we heard all of that. We heard you say I'm not saying anything now.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat it really quick. Through take it.
Yeah, you're still breaking up.
College, and they were listing potential uses on the pamphlet, and one of those as cosmetic nanotechnology, and my mind immediately jumped to one Eli to the Imaginos body, and I thought Imaginos body for a final project, or are we gonna be becoming magic nanotechnologically young? Who knew? I mean, we are young, so we're gonna make our professor young, or whatever. Or what are we gonna do?
Lost Link has a question: is the Imaginos body, and this is the Imaginos 1.0 body, is it better than the body? And I guess the answer, which body? You know, I mean, when she first starts training, she's in a kind of a high tech, not the I guess the doll body, but she's in more of a training type body. But when she gets when she, I guess, graduates, if you want, or gets out of military boot camp, I guess, and goes into the Mauser school and all that, that's when she gets a berserker body, and that is an body.
I think in
also.
short, the answer is yes. It's much more advanced than a
Yes.
body.
Yeah, the Imaginos 1.0 body certainly is more advanced, but as you go up the scale, when you get up to Imaginos 2.1, it is orders of magnitude better than the
Well, that's the thing.
body
Even
or
the
berserker
first,
body.
that's the thing. Even the first Imaginos body with its capabilities seems orders of magnitude much better than any other body she's ever
Yes.
had. And then it just scales up dramatically from there.
Yeah, and I know now this is a side story that was in I can't remember which one. This was in the last order, I guess. It was another story, I guess, that she was actually it was like a spaceship or something like that, and she was running from one end to the other, or I forget what she was in, but she was running so fast that the objects in front of her were blue shifted, which means
I remember that, yeah.
she was running at relativistic speeds, and the berserker body can't do that. I think the berserker body in the manga could run like Mach 6.8 or something like that, but
which is still ridiculously
speeds approaching light. Yeah, speeds approaching light are going to be millions of times faster than Mach 6.8.
Yep.
So yeah, this body here is, like Lee says, it is many orders of magnitude better or more advanced, more capable, than the berserker body. And the Imaginos 2.1 body is even more capable than this body, and this body is pretty awesome, so yes, the answer is much more advanced. How's your internet doing there, Channel?
I can hear it fine now, so
okay, yeah, all right, well, we heard you, that's good, so maybe it's better. Okay, so I think Nova actually now he didn't really integrate Alita's core like Ito did with a body.
No, he blew the core to pieces.
He blew it to bits. But what he did have was he had her DNA, and he was able to construct this android based on I guess for lack of a better word, the specifications that he learned from her DNA. So that's crazy OP right there in terms of technological advancement, to be able to build something like this from scratch, which is completely synthetic in every way. This is not human, now we've also had that discussion, is Alita human in this body? And we all agreed that yes, she is, because she still identifies
socially yes,
as
biologically
human.
no.
Yeah, biologically no, that's exactly right, because she's not biological, so she's a complete android right here, but she does retain all her memories, and I would say she retains her sentience too. I mean, she kind of what she sees is what the Alita that was in the berserker body saw in the tuned body, so she's the same person in terms of her psychology, which we're going to get to, I guess. So any thought about this Imaginos 1.0 body? Now, I don't have the 2.1, but the 2.0 body is an upgrade from here, I guess, that Nova also gave her. And then she gets to 2.1 body is an upgrade from Jupiter, I guess it was.
Wait, 2.0 wasn't a Nova made upgrade.
Oh, it wasn't? What was it? Because I don't
Nova
remember.
makes the Imaginos 1 and the Imaginos 2 is
Yeah.
created in the Robo Azel after when one nova is in
Yes.
Zalem, one nova's this Porta Nova's destroyed, and
Yes.
Supernova is surprised to see it, but so he couldn't have possibly built it if he's surprised and says he needs to study it, because again, if you build it, you're not gonna. Okay, you might if
Yeah,
you're
okay.
Nova, but again, this is the first time he saw that.
Now the upgrade to 2.0, though, when she got blown to bits fighting Toji, she seems to like getting blown to bits, doesn't she? But she,
I don't think
I
she
guess
likes it. I think
Jupiter,
it's just something she ends up falling into
it's
quite
just that,
frequently.
yeah, it happens to her. Yeah,
It's
and
a
then
sad
of course,
addiction.
yeah, I guess the folks on Jupiter upgraded, took her, I guess, I don't know how they did this, reconstructed her body, and it was like pretty fast, and she was back in the fight, I mean, pretty quickly, with new capabilities, and that's when Nova said, I guess who was it said something, is that the Imaginos 2.0 body? And he said, no, that's the Imaginos 2.1 body. Yeah.
Don't remember.
Yeah, Angela says, could be getting blown to bits an addiction. Now, I don't know if she's addicted to it or not. That just happens to her, I think.
I think it's just a
So,
sort of a unluckiness she tends to have.
yeah. Well, she does kind of live a violent life, doesn't she, in a lot of ways?
Very
I
violent,
mean,
yes. And she is drawn
there's
to
that old
conflict, which is going to lead to all kinds of, some
problem.
unfortunate situations occurring.
And there's that old saying, the person that lives by the sword dies by the sword. So, I mean, that seems to be our girl right there,
Yep.
So, oh, yeah, Angelus, yeah, karma. Yeah, there you go, Angelus.
You blew up a spaceship, so now you're gonna blow up a lot of times yourself. You're not gonna blow up as many times as there were people on the spaceship, because that's not really possible, but a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that Operation Malwarf, wasn't it? So,
Yeah.
So anyway, our girl here, and yes, she's still a girl. Yes, she's an android, but she's a girl.
She's a woman by now.
Yeah, she's a woman. That's exactly right, because I think it's particularly toward the end of Last Order. I think she's in her mid-30s. At the youngest, even she might even be approaching 40. At that point. Now she still looks like this because being an android, they don't age like humans do. Well, in the truest sense of the word, she's actually over 300 years old, but in terms
We're
of her
counting the
physical
conscious time
appearance,
spent existing.
yes. But yeah, in the terms of just how she appears, she still looks like somebody in their very late teens or early 20s, maybe mid 20s tops, even though she's in her mid 30s in terms of, I guess not her chronological age, but her whatever age you want to call it, because she's not biological here. But yeah, Angelus. Yeah, the nanobots keep repairing her, so yeah, that helps. As a matter of fact, I guess in this Imaginos body, and to a degree in the Berserker body, the need for maintenance of the body itself is not as high as it would be in the doll body. Maybe there is every 10 years, maybe she has to do something. I don't know, but it seems to me that the nanites are going to keep her body fit, are going to keep it in good operating condition, So that's pretty much it for her bodies. Now let's talk about her heart a little bit. And certainly this is that, we have artificial hearts today, but we don't have anything like this. Particularly this particular heart right here. You see, as you can see, there's some blue substance coming in one side and red substance coming in the other. The red substance, of course, is called heart's blood, and all human beings have that, And when she was a cyborg, her brain still needed to be nourished. It's kind of like Ito was saying when she tried to sneak back in the house after going out
And sits her
Hugo,
down
you
for
know.
dinner.
Yeah, he says, yeah, your brain still needs proper nourishment. Well, that nourishment's going to be carried by the heart's blood.
Yep.
Now, the blue is the cyber blood, and it's going to be that some of that self-repairing. If it's in a berserker body, it's going to have some self-repairing capabilities. Although in Alita's doll body, I don't think it was set up for that, so it wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, I have
But
a
I
feeling
think
there was
even in this,
some wear and tear mitigation systems within the cyber blood.
yes,
And there might have been
yeah, that
some
was,
very limited repair systems, like being able to fill in and smooth out like microfractures and things like that. So the parts will
yeah, I
last a
think it
bit
would,
longer, but it wouldn't be able to self-repair
yeah,
like what the Berserker body was able to.
berserker, yeah, that's exactly right. And to your point, I think that those nanites, the cyber blood, would still have some benefit to her organic brain. I mean, it would probably, keep, as an example, it might keep the arteries and the veins, cleaned out, and it might even
Possibly, but that sort of
support.
stuff could also be put into the heart's blood as well, if
Yeah,
it's
that's
to
right.
affect the organic aspects of her.
Well, if they could come up with some kind of, I guess, leukocytes or lymphocytes, whatever, that kind of thing that would do that, that's more advanced,
Hmm.
that they were able to create, or it could be done by the nanites. So, I mean, but
Well,
the
even the
bottom
heart's
line
blood.
is,
Oh, just go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
I was
No,
going to
you
say
no,
it's
you
like
go ahead.
even the heart's blood has to be entirely synthetic because
Yes.
humans replace their, I think they replace their entire blood supply through their bone marrow
Yeah.
every month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And her being a full conversion cyborg, she has no bone marrow whatsoever,
I
which
think
means
it
her
also
blood.
can. I think it's every 3 months.
Okay, well, still, you've got a fairly frequent time period in which blood is being
You do.
replenished, and she or any other full conversion cyborg not having any bone marrow whatsoever, they need some method of keeping that blood viable. So probably
Yeah.
a synthetic supply of blood that is entirely nanotech based, that just is
Yes.
constantly able to do its job for an extended period of time with maybe minimal checkups at a cyber physician.
Well, they would have to be able to manufacture those, because all of this would be done by cells.
Hmm.
I mean, right now in our bodies, we have white blood cells, red blood cells, other, uh, I mean, your blood is very complex in terms of the kinds of the cells that are in it.
Yep.
And it seems to me, being 500 years in the future like that, they would also have those kind of cells, but they would have probably genetically engineered even more cells that would be able to do some of the things that the cyber blood would do for the machine parts, if those nanites weren't also assisting the heart's blood. So
Yeah. Well, I think the heart's blood is probably entirely made up, or at least for a total replacement cyborg, is probably completely composed of um, a synthetic blood type
synthetic,
that is all
yeah,
nanotech. So the oxygen
yeah,
carriers would be nanotech, because if you can write words on like the head of a pin in molecules as we can today, 500
yeah,
years in the future, they can create a tiny little
yeah,
machine that, just like a red blood cell, can grab oxygen molecules and carry
Or
them to the brain.
alternatively, not everything is done by nanomachines, but they figured out a way to synthesize blood. Like, we
yeah,
don't have that technology now, but we also don't have nanomachines. So I think it might be more possible that they have a way of artificially creating blood. Because again, artificially
yes,
created blood does exist, but it's not as effective as real blood. So it's currently only, last I checked, it's only allowed in use for soldiers, more people who refuse blood donations for religious reasons, like Jehovah's Witnesses, and in
yes,
extreme situations where there's absolutely no no possibility of giving someone real blood, because there's just none in supply, and that person will bleed out if they're not giving any. So it's in
Oh,
testing, but it does exist.
well, that's
So
what
maybe
the
they
heart's
perfected that by Alita's time.
Well, that's what I was talking about. Basically, it's a synthetic blood type.
Yeah. Yeah, that is Alejandro. That is well, now once again, this is fiction, but think of the concept behind this. I
Oh, that's
mean,
another consideration too,
yeah,
is how to deal with the limitations that a partial conversion cyborg undergoes, because they might
yeah,
have some bones, but they might not have enough bone marrow to replenish the entire body's supply. So you have to balance, you may have to balance the synthetic heart's blood with the natural blood of a human body, or still somewhat human body.
yeah. Jeff thinks that perhaps some of that got destroyed. I guess. The other way, don't know. It was destroyed. Cold Spark could have destroyed all the nanites. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think in the novelization, uh, Ito had, remember there was two, one of the things that Alita was worried about when she started helping Ito around the clinic was that could she break those packages that the heart's blood and the cyber blood came in, and Gerhard said, no, those things are pretty tough. You know, you could drop them and it won't break, you know, or something like that. They probably had a way, like Channel was saying, that, you know, their medical tech is so advanced that they can reproduce, or they can produce organic cells artificially. You know, that's probably what, and that heart's blood is probably synthetic, but it's still organic. You know, probably, I guess.
Possibly. I kind of tend to go by the
Yeah.
old cyberpunk maxim: metal is better than meat.
Well,
Simply
that's
because
true,
it's
but I think
tougher, it lasts longer, it can withstand more pressures than something that's, organic.
yeah, except in the case of Alita's brain, I'm not sure metal would be.
Well, there's
Well,
limitations. You're
I
not going to
don't know.
want to,
That's yeah,
replace somebody's brain. That, basically
Her,
causes a whole
yeah,
other series of issues.
her brain isn't
yeah,
mostly isn't organic anyway. We have as an explanation at the beginning of Last Order why she survived the everything that happened after Operation Manuf, and that's that most of the water in her brain was replaced with some substance that hardens on impact.
Oh, I remember that shearing fluid. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's right. So anyway, this is hundreds of years more advanced than any artificial heart we have today, and one of the reasons is that right there. Imagine the level of technology for that thing. I mean, you got to have a magnetic bottle inside this thing to be able to hold that antimatter that's in there, because if that antimatter, if it comes into contact with matter, it immediately annihilates both the matter and the antimatter get annihilated.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody shut down that part of her heart, she would explode, you know, is what she would do, you know, or at least her heart would, you know. And it doesn't take a lot of antimatter to power this thing either, you know. So
Yep.
We don't have this today. we
We
I
don't have
think
anything
they've been
close to this today.
no, we don't.
I mean, I
And I
found out
think
we
in the
can
large,
create antimatter, but it is
yes,
just a few atoms at a time, and they don't last for more than like a few seconds at most.
yeah, well, they, you know, I know I've read that in the Large Hadron Collider, they've been able to, like you say, create, you know, small amounts of antimatter that just don't last. You
Yep.
know, they disintegrate pretty fast, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to contain something like that and make it, you know, kind of resilient to the point where it lasts a long time, and to be able to contain it in a system, that, I mean, God Almighty, I don't know, that's pretty advanced technology right there, you know. So
Yep.
and it's like
It's up
Ito
there.
says, you know, her heart, you know, can power all of Iron City for years. So
Yep. And
So anyway, but
unfortunately,
that's
I'm going to have to get going here. It's after 5:30, and I
okay.
was supposed to be somewhere. I can give you the
Okay.
link to that Reddit post that has all that scientific stuff that that guy did for the eyes, if you'd like.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put that in the private. Put that in the private chat, and I'll put it in the public chat.
Alrighty. Let me go ahead. See, copy and paste. Okay, that should be it.
Okay. There is the.
Yeah, he
there it
goes
is.
into image
Alita.
stacking, how the eye would be superior at seeing and tracking fast-moving objects like other hyper fast-moving cyborgs. The ability
Yeah.
to do sniper scope level zoom without a sniper scope, all that stuff.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's some incredible stuff. Some of it is optical technology that we're capable of today. We just can't do it in like a
Yeah.
human eye, even one as big
Yeah.
as
That's right.
Alita's.
Yeah.
But all right, it was fun talking with you guys. You guys have fun.
All righty.
I'll take.
You bet. Well,
Everybody
so
take
glad
care.
you could drop in there, Lee.
It's fun being here. You guys take
Yeah.
care.
All right. See ya.
See you.
If anybody wants to come on onto the stream, I'm gonna put the link back in the chat here. There it is, right there. Just click on that, and you can jump right on. And so that's her heart. Now this is, of course, when she's sitting on that table, I guess. When I guess Ito's checking her out after she kicked the crap out of those 3 cyborgs in the alley. I guess he was kind of checking her out to make sure she wasn't damaged in any way. I think in the novelization, her fighting Gerwishka, basically, she cracked a couple of bushings or something like that. I think he said, and he was looking for replacements for it so he could kind of put them back into replace those bushings. But there you can see there's the heart, and the way that kind of works, I guess in theory anyway. Here's a little video. You can see it's beating right there, and it looks to be beating about 30 beats per minute. So it's pumping both cyber blood and heart's blood. It's pumping the heart's blood to her brain, and the cyber blood, of course, is being pumped to all of her systems and subsystems in her body. So I don't know what kind of functions that thing is doing, but in a lot of ways, her heart, with the exception of the antimatter microreactor, is probably similar, at least, to artificial hearts that we have today. In some ways, probably still more advanced. But what sets it apart is that antimatter microreactor. That right there gives her strength. It enables her to run really fast, particularly in her berserker body, and she's. And of course, the materials of her body is going to limit, what she can lift and stuff like that. But it gives her that power to be able to lift very heavy objects and that sort of thing. So, any thoughts there, Channel?
Not really.
Okay. Now let's talk about Alita's plasma weapon. And we did a stream on this a long time ago about this.
Excuse me, but I'm kind of losing my focus because it's night here, and I might just get off.
Okay. All right, Channel. Well, I'm glad you could stop by.
I'm glad to.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can get you back on next week.
Hey, I'll be on tomorrow.
Okay, cool. We'll see you then.
Why does my internet decide to be good right when I was going to get off?
I don't know.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. So anyway, with Alita's plasma weapon, as you can see there, now those temperatures are kind of estimates. I mean, certainly when she she can control that plasma. In other words, when she ignites it, it's not automatically going to be 11,000 degrees Kelvin. I mean, it's going to be what she can control it, you know, like you would control the level of light in a room if you got a rheostat instead of a switch. So she can probably do this anywhere from around 4,000 degrees Celsius to 10,700 degrees Celsius. Now, what's interesting about this, of course, is these her berserker bodies got to be able to withstand those high temperatures. And because if you can, as you see there, the sun is nearly 6,000 degrees Kelvin, you know, so basically she, at her maximum output, she could probably generate plasma that's almost twice as hot as the sun. So, I mean, that's, or at least on the surface of the sun, because interior of the sun, of course, is millions of degrees. And she's not going to be able to do that. But she's going to be able to generate pretty high temperatures, and that berserker body's got to be able to withstand that. And you can see how that played in when she cut Grishka in half, how easily that sword, that berserker, that Damascus blade went through Grishka. I mean, it was like a hot knife slicing through butter. So she has the ability to control that. Buenas tardes, Alejandro. ¿Cómo está, amigo?
Hola, Crick, ¿cómo está usted? Hola, Channel, ¿cómo están? Gusto de
Yeah,
saludarlos.
yeah,
How are
muy
you?
bien. Gracias, muy bien. So it's good to have you on.
Oh, fine, thank you. With a very sad feeling because I haven't been able to join in another occasions because the cross for my work. But
Yeah.
anytime I can hear you in this live stream, I enjoy very much your conference and your very great ideas with another guys. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks. You know, well, we're glad you could join us. I mean, you know, I mean, yeah, work kind of gets in the way sometimes, doesn't it? So, how is things down there in Colombia?
Oh yes, in this time it's we have finished. We work at 6 p.m. and now we have 6:42 p.m. So I'm
Okay.
free now and I can talk a little bit because I'm forgetting the English. I haven't many possibilities to speak in English only in this great in this great opportunity. So thank you very much because people here usually don't speak English.
Yeah, well, no problem. Your English is pretty good, Alejandro, that's for sure. So I wouldn't worry about that. So,
Thank you very much. But
so
my
anyway, I
hearing
know
is not
Mac.
so good. But
Oh, go
my
ahead.
hearing is not very good. I miss many words, but I got the, the great idea more or less.
Okay. So anyway, with Alita's plasma weapon, I know Maxie and I have discussed this at length. You know, in her berserker body, certainly she has the ability to generate that plasma without a weapon. She doesn't need the Damascus blade to generate plasma. She can do that inherent in her body. And indeed, in the Panzer Kunst Mauser school, they call this their own style. In other words, each cyborg or each warrior, each Künstler has an element of their fighting ability or their overall ability that only they have, that cannot be taught to other Künstlers or berserkers. And this is hers, the plasma weapon. So she can generate that within her body. Now, in her motorball body, probably Ito has probably come up with some systems that will allow her to generate this in her motorball body. And she can probably also, this is probably also inherent in the Damascus blade itself, where she can even control it if she generates it from within the Damascus blade. But how many human beings can control plasma like this? I mean, yeah, we can control plasma, but we got to have an arc welder to do it. She doesn't need that. She controls plasma just like we can control our ability to walk, or talk or eat or whatever it is we're doing. She can control this, inside her body. And yes, Angelus, she's got ooh-woo
Sure.
here as well. Now, let's talk about some of the materials that are made up in Alita's bodies. Now, pretty much here, I'm only talking about the doll body, berserker body, and the Imaginos body. But her doll body is built mostly of a kind of a highly advanced composite of some kind of a advanced plastic and metal that I guess Ito put together when he built the doll body for his biological daughter. And of course, he put Alita in that body to begin with. The berserker body is made of berserker cells. So she can, I mean, she's not a shapeshifter in her berserker body, but those cells can do some things like repair injury pretty quickly, as we saw when Gerwishka punctured her with that grind cutter. Within about 5 to 10 seconds, the berserker cells repaired her body. The Imaginos body is a little different. And when we were talking about this a while ago, Nova actually upgraded those berserker cells because they're based on the berserker cells, but he actually upgraded them to the point to where it makes her a shapeshifter. And she has these Imaginos cells in all of her Imaginos bodies from 1.0 to 2.1. So it's not that it's in other bodies that she has, they're kind of like vehicles that are made of maybe metal and stuff like that, like in her civilian bodies, an example. It's probably very similar to the doll body. And her tuned body is also pretty similar to that as well. But the berserker body and the Imaginos body, they're just strictly made up of these cells. And the Imaginos cells, of course, are much more advanced than the berserker cells. The berserker cells themselves are like orders of magnitude more capable than any other cyborg body, of any of the other cyborgs that are in Iron City. And the Imaginos cells are orders of magnitude more advanced than the berserker cells themselves, and they have more capability in orders of magnitude, because she can actually shapeshift in her berserker cell, in her Imaginos body, rather. Any thoughts about that,
let me ask you
Alejandro?
something.
Okay.
Yeah, let me ask you something. Do you think the berserker cells is like a combination of organic and synthetic cells, or only one kind of nature, specific organic, or only mechanic? What do you think about these kind of cells?
Well, I mean, it doesn't go into too much into what these cells are made of, but my personal feeling is they're not organic. They are highly advanced nano machines, is what they are. And the Imaginos cells are even more advanced than the berserker cells. So that, they're not cells like you would think of a skin cell or a brain cell. Now, the berserker cells can do a lot of different functions depending on their programming maybe. But the cells themselves are just basically a nanite. So it's a machine. But they're so super advanced that I guess we probably wouldn't recognize them as machines, but I think they are definitely not organic. That's my feeling. If, I know Jeff's out there in the chat. What do you? Yeah, that's because Jeff said that the some of not the berserker body or the Imaginos body, but the other bodies that she has that are not the human body are machine-based bodies. Well, the berserker body and the Imaginos body are also machine-based bodies, but they are consisted of the berserker body, certainly berserker cells, and the Imaginos body, Imaginos cells. So no, they're not like blood cells. They're not like skin cells. They are strictly machines, nano machines. Did that answer your question there,
nanobots,
Alejandro?
right?
Yeah,
Yes,
nanobots.
I
That's
think it's like a
exactly right.
nanobot.
Yeah.
Yes, that she can control by her mind in order that she can reconfigure some functions or some densities or some forms of the outside body. Maybe it has the possibility to reconstruct some parts, like at the end of the film with when Grewinska attacked her with one of the grain cutters. So
Mm-hmm.
she can, with the mind, to control all the functions of the nanobots, to reconstruct and maybe rebuild some more strong elements and come back depending of the circumstances, right?
Well, yeah, I think in the case of the berserker cells, and the Imagino cells are a little bit different, but the berserker cells, she probably has control to some degree, depending on what the programming that are in the cells themselves. But there's probably a lot that those cells do that are also in her subconscious, where she doesn't really uh, mentally control them, but they automatically do their functions, kind of like some of the cells are, like our uh, I guess our white blood cells is an example. They fight infection. Well, we don't tell those white blood cells to go fight the infection. They just do it automatically. So it's kind of even not even the subconscious in that regard. The berserker cells are probably pretty similar. I mean, some of them are probably programmed to kind of comply with her any kind of mental command she might have or any thought that she might have that would control them. But a lot of them are probably automatic. They do whatever function they have to protect her body, maybe to rebuild something. And in the case of the Imagino cells, yeah, she does have a lot of control there on that, where she can maybe shapeshift, where she can imagine herself as something of similar size and mass, and she can shapeshift into that and not look like her, but she can look like something else, and then shapeshift back, the way her mental image of herself. And probably even some of those
Sure.
Imagino cells also probably have a automatic kind of function to them that would be similar to the berserker cells.
Good.
But
Good.
anyway, those are the three bodies that we have here. Now, there are some other bodies, certainly. The doll body is one of those machine based bodies that Jeff mentioned there, but uh, the tuned body is also a machine based body that's built, like you would think of building a car as an example. So with the civilian body is the same thing. Now she does have a human body, and of course that would be like us today. I mean, we're human beings, and she has a human body. She certainly ends up with one at the end of the last order. So, or at least at the last order, as I mentioned a while ago, there's two Alitas at the end of last order. One of them is Imaginos 2.1 Alita, and the other is human Alita. So so those, certainly those cells are going to be completely organic.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
point is that the doll body and the berserker body conserves the curves and design of the female body, because I think
Mhm.
she can look like a female more than a very strong machine killing anyone
Yeah.
like Grewinska. It's very stylized, it's
Yeah.
very feminine, very delicate in form, very strong, but the female forms are very nice in the first two bodies.
Yeah. Well, I think, well, she in
And
that doll body, that's the first, certainly the body we saw first. That was a body that Ito built, and he put her core in that thing. He integrated her core with the doll body. So probably her mental image was somewhat close to that to begin with because it's female, and she was female, you know. But in the Berserker body, and certainly in the Imaginos body, but if you remember that uh, Ito said that the Berserker body or the Berserker cells are going to reconfigure themselves based on her concept of herself, you know, her self image. So she's very much a female, you know, so as opposed to being a male, you know.
sure, because the body could be some form, a human form, but not so male, not female, maybe a android systems. But in the film, the
Yeah.
idea is to motivate more the female forms. And even when she wakes up and she looks herself in the mirror, she likes very much how she looks in that beautiful body.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it is not
Yeah, she
only
does.
for the design, it is very strong, very nice in the form and the possibilities that they can develop many different elements with that body.
Well, her doll body is certainly very beautiful, you know, but it's kind of certainly like early teenage body type thing. But yeah, I agree with you. That's a body pretty much that was built, you know, I mean, with materials like we might recognize today, whereas the Berserker body and the Imaginos body are made up of these nano machines, you know, and that's their construction. By the way, Lost Link says maybe the Imaginos body is Earth technology. It is actually. The Imaginos body is something that I guess uh, that Nova actually, you know, he kind of constructed her based on her DNA, and she's a complete android in the Imaginos body. But he was able to, I guess you would say, reverse engineer her as an android based on her DNA after he blew her up at the with the baby bomb, you know. So yeah, the Imaginos body is Earth technology, where the Berserker body is Mars technology. And Jeff says, "What about that other organic body in the Mars Chronicles?" Yeah, that one there, Jeff. We said it early on. We were going to stay away from that because of the creep factor. But I guess I can briefly. I guess what I'll say is that there was this character named oh gosh, it was a Baron something or other. I can't remember his name now. You know that he had these they were like tumors, I guess, and they manifested themselves on your body as a, you know, like a face. They look very much like that. And Alita was kind of her in that particular in the Mars Chronicle. That was her origin, you know. So anyway, I can't remember the name of the guy now. The Baron something or other. Muster. Yeah, that's right, Baron Muster. And he had that affliction, you know, with these. I guess you could call them tumors. Is the best thing I can think of. And Alita was from one of those, not one of those particular tumors, but you know, that was kind of her origin. Now, in the movie, if you saw that video about the Great War, the Fall, and it was kind of Alita's backstory. She had a normal human birth, like, you know, with a mother and father on Mars. So, you know, pick the one you want. So, but I kind of stayed away from the organic body that she had in Mars Chronicles. But yeah, she did have an organic body in that to begin with, but she was actually put in a cyborg body pretty early on, I think, in her life as a toddler, even I think maybe 3 years old or something like that. She was in a cyborg body. So Anyway, Jeff, I hope that was right, and I hope that answers your question. Okay, so that's kind of the physical part of Alita. Now let's talk about the psychological part of that. First of all, and we've had this discussion too, Maxie and I and Angelus, and I think oh gosh, it was someone else that was on there. It might have been Odd John Hoots, I think, was on one of the streams where we were talking about her being, whether she was a metahuman. That's of course the DC, kind of a label for anyone who has abilities far beyond human beings, or at least an enhanced human. Maxie seems to think she's an enhanced human, and she certainly is that at the very least, But the bottom line is whatever label you want to put on her, whether it's, and whatever your take is, she is superhuman. Her strength and her berserker body. Well, her doll body's pretty strong to begin with. Anybody could cleave off a giant cyborg or android like Gerwish could cleave his arm off with an axe kick. Has got to be tremendously powerful, But in her berserker body, and certainly in her Imaginos body, or even in some of these other bodies, like the tuned body as an example, she has abilities that are far beyond human beings. And she, being able to curl, as I calculated once, being able to curl 600 pounds or 800 pounds rather. And she had to have that ability to hold that Gatling gun, or Gatling cannon is what it was, because it was a 100 caliber gun that had 4 barrels on it. For her to hold that with one hand, she'd have to have tremendous strength to do that. And to be able to run like she did, taking out all of those Centurions, would require great speed. Now in the manga, in a berserker body, she can run, supersonic speeds, so, and then certainly in her Imaginos 1.0 body, we saw that story where she could run at relativistic speed. Well, there is no human being on the planet that can run anywhere near supersonic speed, much less relativistic speed. So, and she certainly is a total replacement cyborg in her berserker body. Now in her Imaginos bodies, she's an android. So, but she still retains that human quality herself. She is certainly, she was in the military. So, she got a lot of training there, a lot of discipline. And she certainly is an expert fighter. And she knows that martial arts specifically designed for cyborgs and androids called Panzerkunst. So, that training alone kind of has a mindset for her, and it gives her great confidence. She's a hunter warrior. In other words, most hunter warriors, I got the impression in the movie, would go after easy marks somewhat, because most of them were cyborgs themselves. I think Clive Lee in the movie wasn't a cyborg. I think he was a human, and certainly Ito wasn't a cyborg. But they would go after what easier marks. Alita, with her abilities, she has the confidence to go after very, very dangerous marks, and take them out, because she's so more advanced than they are that it's not going to be a problem for her. She's certainly a professional motorball player, which humans cannot do. And if you remember from that scene where she's in the locker room, she is complete at ease. She's, as a matter of fact, she's not thinking about what she thinks is going to be a tryout. She's thinking about Hugo. Ito, can a human love a cyborg? If you're going to be playing in a professional match like that, why would you ask somebody who's kind of getting you ready to compete, can a human love a cyborg? So she's completely confident in her abilities to be able to do what she's going to do on the motorball track. And certainly being an adopted daughter of Ito, at first she's kind of rebellious, at the beginning, and, she's kind of at odds with Ito and that kind of thing. But toward the end, when she says, "Thank you, Father," she has accepted him completely as her father, which is kind of cool, I think. She's very intuitive. In other words, she has her intuition is to the point helps her fighting, of course. Now I got intelligence there. I wouldn't think I don't think she's a genius, but she's bright. She knows uh, she definitely is she has the ability to do problem solving and she's not a stupid person like say Grewishka. Grewishka to me was kind of dull, kind of stupid, kind of one dimensional in that regard. Well, Alita's not that. And she does have absolute
No,
control
she's
of
very
fear.
smart.
Yeah, she is very smart. Yeah. Now, once again, I don't think she's a genius. Well, she might be. I don't know, but I think she, at the very least, she's bright. I think she is very smart, like you say. And of course, her training in the armed military, and of course, being a hunter warrior and a professional motorball player, you know, but particularly her military training is going to help her control her fear, because that was one of the things they probably ingrained in all of those soldiers when she was in the armed military, to be able to accomplish a mission, even if you are afraid. So I think that's kind of Alita in a nutshell mentally. She's very object oriented, or rather objective oriented, in terms of if she has a goal, she is going to do everything in her ability to meet that goal. She cares greatly for her family and loved ones and her friends. She's not going to let anything harm them. And she has compassion and empathy, like we saw with that little dog. She really cared for that dog. So I mean, she's not an archetype superhero, all good. She does have her moments, but I think generally speaking, she is a very good person. Even with all of these abilities, she's not, how would you say, most of the time, because she does have her moments, but most of the time she is not, just kind of a swaggering, someone who's going to push people around because she knows she's better than them or something like that. She's a very genuine individual like that. Anyway, any thoughts about any of this, Alejandro? Any observations you have of Alita that you've seen, and maybe reading the manga or seeing the movie?
Well, let me tell you that there is a very interesting scene that I remember in this moment. Is the first action that she does when she recovers her berserker body is making a beautiful movement of ballet. It's not going only in the military movement or destroying anything. No,
Okay.
it's something
Yes.
related with the beauty, with the art. So this is
Yeah.
another aspect of the personality of her, because with all the power and all the technology that they have this body, but the first thing that she does is a beautiful movement with the power of supporting all the weight of his
Yeah.
body with just one finger. I think it's very interesting
Yeah.
and very out of of the thing that is that that shot, because you don't expect that. That girl is always surprising to the person who is looking the film. She's always surprising Hugo in different sense, because she's
Mm.
always with the spirit of showing different like a kaleidoscope or different
Yeah.
moods and different feelings and thoughts, and that is very rich psychology of Alita. Yeah, the another thing that I think is very interesting is the speech about how she critiques the situation of the hunted world when she is in the Kansas bar. with a very short phrases, she analyzed all the situation of the hunted warriors that they are they analyze that they are people that they is not agree with the level of the morality of the ethics, and it's not that she expected that she said she's people who is drunken and it only goes for money, but I think the spirit of the hunting world is lost. This analysis of this
Yeah.
situation of this society and is brilliant because with very short phrases she analyzes a very deep feelings how she is checking the situation of the hunting world. I think it's very interesting.
Well, to your point, you mentioned a while ago about that balancing on her on one finger. I mean, it's very graceful, isn't she? In that whole thing, she was. I mean, it was amazing, to see a body that weighs probably 200 to 300 pounds like that. How she was so graceful, being able to balance on two fingers and then one finger and then kind of do that thing with the plasma weapon, and then after all that, knowing that she had all this ability, comes over and sits down by Ito and puts her head on his chest. I mean, that's kind of neat. I mean, it's kind of a
Hmm.
daughter kind of thing to do, wasn't it?
And let me ask, let me tell you something additional. I think with her mind in sort of way she controls the weight because with the Panzer Kunst she can control. I don't know exactly how to explain, but almost he can jump. He can almost fly when she's fighting with the first cyborg with fighting against Nexiana and
Yeah,
Yagniska in the street. You can check that
yeah,
it's almost impossible that he can jump in a very high
yeah,
meters from the top and make all this
yeah,
movement because this body is weight. It's very weight, uh, as
yes,
said Hugo when she get up from the floor, but she
yeah,
controls the weight.
yeah,
Yes, it's
yeah.
almost jumping and flying like a bird. Yes.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that part of that, of course, has to do with the materials in her body. But I also think that her antimatter microreactor heart gives her that power because when she when she kicked or launched herself at Romo, she had to fly because I looked at the frames in the movie when I was kind of calculating how much ability she had. She flew probably 30 feet through the air to deliver that side kick on him. And then when she was fighting Nisiana, she kicks Nisiana. Nisiana ends up, on the wall kind of thing. That was at least 15 to 20 feet when she did that kick on her that decapitated Nisiana. And that her body, it's like you were saying, Hugo, when he kind of helped her up, he said, "Oh, you're heavy." And I always say you're a dumbass for saying that to her. But oh, you're
Hmm.
heavy. Well, she had no
You're
problem
heavy.
gracefully
Yeah.
controlling that weight. Exactly. And she's not obnoxious either.
Sure.
Yeah, she's a person, that just, knows who she is, and then that's it. She doesn't throw her weight around with
Sure.
people. Now, like I
And I
say,
remember, for instance, yes, for instance,
go,
when she goes with her berserker body to visit Hugo, that is hanging with her friends, you check how she's jumping over the floor, over the roof
yes,
of the houses, and she's almost flying like a bird.
yeah,
It's so light in the
yeah,
weight. You can imagine that it can weigh in that way
yeah.
because she has the possibility to control that.
When she landed on the ground, by Hugo, it was like heavy thud, wasn't it? I mean, I mean, it kind of reminded me. You bring up her jumping from building to building. That reminded me. I did a video where I put a caption on the bottom that she was kind of like Spider-Man doing that. Just kind of going from rooftop to
Sure.
rooftop. So
But that kind of
okay,
moment is
I
very
think
very difficult, very hard to do it with a very high weight. So I think that she can control the density of the body, and she can to jump in a very versatile way, and as she did with when she's trying to find a Hugo over the tube when she goes out of the stadium and goes
yeah,
when Hugh Head and
yeah,
Kujama, I don't remember the name, is behind there. But the
yeah,
way that she's jumping over the tube and over the roof with the speed is incredible.
yeah, yeah. It's hardcore parkour, they say. So yeah. Yeah, she's
Yes,
amazing in that whole thing. And by the way, I think she's so powerful with that antimatter microreactor heart. I don't think she needs to change the density of her or have control of density of her body. I think her heart can power an entire city for years. She's going to have more than enough power to control that weight, even if it's 500 pounds. She's going to be able to control it pretty easily, I think, because that Gatling gun that she picked up, she ripped it off of that Centurion, held it with one hand. I calculated that gun weighed 600 pounds, and she was able to hold it with one hand. So I mean, pretty amazing.
sure.
Okay. Any other thoughts about her personally? I know she can go off the rails for sure. When she was in the in the Badlands arc, she was definitely off the rails there. And if you remember, Figure Four kind of got her in touch with her humanity again. But for the most part, she's a very good person. I think. I think she cares about people, particularly her loved ones. She really cares about them. So is just not going to let anything happen to them.
Yes, and I think another aspect that is more proper in the film is this spirituality, or maybe transcendental phrase, like she
Yeah,
mentioned in the Kansas bar, that I don't stand by in the presence of evil. That it's only in the film, it's not
yeah,
from the manga, but they had a
yeah,
very deep preparation during the military aspect, because it's not only the technical aspect or managing weapons or something like that, but it's a very deep
yeah,
preparation in the mental aspect to confront the evil, and to distinguish the good and the evil. I think its aspect is very interesting too.
yeah. And I think she perceived also that Grishka is a threat to not only her but to Ito as well, and she wasn't gonna let Grishka harm Ito for that matter. At that point, so very strong sense of what was certainly a strong sense of what's right and wrong. I guess I do not stand by in the presence of evil, like you said, but also a strong sense of friends and family. I think she has that. Hello,
Sure.
Finn, there in Switzerland. Hello, Savos, Finn, or Gru Scott, whichever one you want. So my German's not much better than my Spanish, Alejandro.
I see. Okay.
Okay. Well, this one here is Frangelis. I don't know if he's still in the chat or not, but of course, we were talking about Alita's eyes a while ago, that they are synthetic implants that all the armed military soldiers and pilots and stuff like that, they all had these implants that gave them uh, that gave them an extremely keen sense of sight, where they could see in very dark conditions, kind of like almost like I guess you would say night vision. Uh, Also being able to track a fast moving object, these implants gave her that ability. So and certainly being on Mars, Mars, it receives roughly half the amount of sunlight that the Earth does, so it would require a larger irises and pupils anyway. So, but in terms of her eyes themselves, they're aesthetic, and hopefully Angelus is still out there. But yeah, she's got that uwu going for her, and those eyes kind of help that, I think. I would say if you look at that picture on the right and the one on the left, and then of course some other pictures of her in a berserker body, what I think is, in the picture on the right, she's lost Hugo. To me, her face looks more drawn. It looks more like, I mean, it looks, I wouldn't say gaunt, because it's not going to be gaunt, not on a cyborg, but it looks like it looks like it's a result of a lot of emotional distress, probably a lot of crying. She probably cried a lot over Hugo, for the months that she was playing motorball, even though she was playing motorball to forget about Hugo, or not forget him, but kind of deal with her loss. Whereas the one on the right, as you can see, her face looks fuller to me. I don't know, and I think it did in most of the movie. So, she does have a pretty strong sense of emotion and stuff like that. So I think that speaks well of her. She's not just a one-dimensional character that's going to be fighting bad. I mean, they're fighting bad guys all the time, so villains. She's very much a person who's like any of the rest of us, I think.
Yes, I think
A
she
lot of
is
folks.
reflecting the sadness and the emptiness because of the Hugo's death that she keeps in mind,
Yeah,
and this is a very different way that she relates with the world, because he expressed the loneliness, I think, too, because no Ido, no Hugo, no friends. It's only herself
yeah,
against the world. I think it's that kind of
yes,
expression with his eyes. And I don't think that I think it's very curious about the film is there is no other character with a big eyes as Alita's eyes, and nobody
yeah,
mentioned that. Oh, you're a girl
yeah,
with the very big eyes. No, for the people in
yeah,
Iron City, they think it's okay, but she is the only character with a very big eyes.
yeah. Well, I guess Gelda also had those big eyes, but Gelda wasn't in Iron City, was she? When Alita was there, Gelda was only with Alita during the Great War of the Fall, I guess, in her flashbacks. So the people in Iron City didn't see that. So yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, to me, it was amazing. Well, I mean, Hugo, when he did help her up, he said, "Oh, you're heavy," and he looked at her, and it was like he looked at her like, "Oh wow," he could have been doing it one of two ways. He could have been saying, "Wow, those are eyes I've never seen before," something like that. But I also think he looked at her and saw her, how cute she was. I think it kind of momentarily paralyzed him, or something like that. So
Hmm.
so anyway, Angelus, if you're still out
But
there,
in fact,
there's a
I think the go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, no. You go ahead, Alejandro. I was done.
Okay. I think in fact when but the first scene that when she opens his eyes and see the world, that's That's eyes
Yeah.
from Rosa, with a 25%
Yeah.
bigger. Is the most beautiful
Yeah.
scene of the girl that I've ever seen. Beautiful, really.
Oh
What
God, yes.
awakening so much, so beautiful. Yes, sure. And I think
God, yeah.
maybe Hugo is very shy, but I think that she has to say something about the beautiful eyes of Alita.
Yeah. I know the first time I saw the movie and when she opened her eyes, I thought, "Oh, wow, how pretty," you know? That was my reaction, I think, when the first time I saw it. A lot of people didn't they kind of diss the movie because of her eyes, but to me that's stupid. I mean, a lot of anime has characters with large eyes like that. The movie Frozen has characters with large eyes. I mean, come on, to me it wasn't an issue at all, except the first time I saw them I thought how pretty they were. But that was about it. That was my I didn't have any kind of negative reaction to it. So something tells me
No,
that
it's a very
Angelus
positive
is not.
reaction, right? Beautiful.
Yes, yes, it is. Okay. Any other thoughts
And
about
they
this
are very
at
expressive
all?
too. You can check the feelings of Alita looking her eyes during different scenes because
Yes.
the expression of the emotion is very strong through these beautiful eyes, and the color are beautiful too. This is brown, dark
Yeah. Yeah.
eyes. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yes. And our girl Rosa pulled that off, didn't she? All those facial expressions and all. I mean, Rosa did a great job on Alita. That's for sure. Okay. Well, I
Absolutely,
think we hit all
absolutely.
that. I think we hit all that pretty good. Well, Alejandro, I know you haven't been here the whole time, but I don't think we missed anything. Uh, I know Jeff had a question about, Alita's organic body in Mars Chronicles, and I did touch on that briefly. But anything else you can think of? Any other last words you got there, Alejandro?
Oh, I think there is another bodies, but I think the main aspects of this body that you have stated very well. I think it's very interesting, and they open a many new ideas and many possibilities to analyze another dimensions of Alita that they are so big.
Okay. I can't think of anything else myself either. So,
Oh,
well, as you can see in that
let
center
me let
panel
me
there.
tell you
Oh, go
something
ahead.
quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Uh, yes, I check in these days that Amy, Amazon is working on the third season of Undone. Have you heard something about that?
Ah, no, I have not heard about that because I thoroughly enjoyed that series, the first and second seasons. They were great.
Absolutely. But
Yeah,
I check
I have not heard.
a web page that but I heard and I read that they are thinking to the premiere of the third season for the next year in the April 2024.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm gonna be on the lookout for that. I did say one thing, Alejandro, that you probably did you missed that Rosa has been selected to play a character in the Marvel universe. She's going to play a villain called Diamondback in Captain America 4. So she's going to be in a big movie right there.
Oh
She's going to
yes,
play a pretty important character. Yeah. God, and I know she's going to pull that off. I know she's going to do a great job on that thing. That's for sure.
must be wonderful to see
Okay.
her in another role. That will be great.
Yeah. Well, she's going to be in a role of a supervillain, so she's, you know, even though she's going to be a villain, I'm going to be pulling for her. And I know Vladi had a tweet yesterday that says he had this vision that, you know, that Rose is going to be a supervillain. She's going to kill all the characters in the MCU, all the superheroes. So
Sure, they can kill
yeah, and then they
anyone. I
could,
think.
yeah. Okay, so I guess we
And
hit that
Rosa
all
has
pretty
that
well.
versatility.
Yes, she does. Yes, she's a great actor, that's for sure. Well, you can see from that middle panel there that Alita does love her Uncle Creek. That's for sure. So, and I'm her adopted uncle, obviously, and it's fictional. So you know, but we have
Huh.
fun with it. And then certainly here's our lady right here, our queen Rosa. You know, she's man, she did a great job on Alita. I know she's done a great job in other things I've seen her in, you know, like Undud that Alejandro had mentioned. And I know she's going to knock it. She is going to really knock it out of the ballpark in terms of, you know, of playing in the Captain America 4. And she's really super, you know. And as I say every week, it sure don't hurt that she's pretty, you know, and she is definitely that. And also, like I like to do every week, I like to do a shout out to Elle Lamont and Jessie Fisher. Those two ladies right there brought Screwhead to life big time, and we want to see Screwhead back in that sequel. That's for sure, because Screwhead is not dead. She, you know, her core was still intact. So was her head, you know. So, and if you remember, Elle told us in the interview that the idea was that they could take Screwhead. They could take her head and put it on different bodies, you know. So I think Screwhead could definitely come
Sure.
back, and I definitely want her to come back, you know. So, but all three of these ladies here they deserve to be in the sequel, that's for sure. Because they did such a great job on the characters, you know. Okay, so
Yeah, I agree with
anyway,
you. Sure.
tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow on Radio Chaos episode 171. We're going to be going over the collapser rounds, and those are the rounds that are set up to combat or to destroy berserker cells. You remember we were talking a lot about berserker cells here, it's particularly in that berserker body, and the collapser rounds themselves are they were designed to actually, I guess, you know, I guess they do to destroy those berserker cells. And, you know, that's kind of what we're going to be going over tomorrow. We're going to go into great depths on it. And I really hope everybody tunes in for this, because Angelus has got an update for us on Maxie, you know, about how Maxie's doing. And Maxie's recovering, but Angelus has got a little more information on that. So join us on Radio Chaos tomorrow, because we're not only going to have a really good discussion here about this, but we're going to learn about, you know, how Maxie's doing, and we certainly want him to come back as well. So,
Oh, great.
okay, why is this image here? Well, that image is there because the Creek likes it, and the Creek is running the stream. And to paraphrase Gruishka, I am only here for our girl and the Alita Army. And of course, all of us in the Alita Army are only here for our girl, because we want that sequel, damn it. I hope if Disney sees any of these streams, I hope they see that they know that we want that sequel. Of course, I think they do know that. But okay, so anyway, I guess that kind of finishes it up here. So Alejandro, it's just you and me, so I guess we can do the call to action pretty easily here on my count of 3. And that'd be 1, or I can do this in Spanish. How about that? Although we'd have to do the call to action in English.
Oh, yeah,
So
I'm going to say it in
oh,
Spanish. I'm going to say it in Spanish, okay?
you can, okay, you say it in Spanish, and after you say it,
Okay.
I will say film those sequels. Okay, so anyway, here's my count. 1, 2,
Okay.
3.
Filmen
Go
esa
ahead.
secuela, nenes.
Film those sequels, baby. So
Filmen
anyway, we'll
esa
see you next
secuela,
week.
baby.
Yes, indeedy. So
Sure.
we will see you next week on the Alita live stream, and we will see you tomorrow on Radio Chaos.
Okay, thank you. Bye
What's
bye.
up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita Livestream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.